One key question that keeps coming up time and again, I mean, we all keep hearing software is eating all other industries. Uh, Everything is becoming adjacent to everything else. We are having chemical industry work into aerospace work into automotive. So this whole concept of total addressable market, which seemed to be quite an obvious topic, let's say 10 or 15 years ago, has become really fluid now. I was in this conversation with this client who has suddenly discovered a niche for their chemical, which they used to use in the steel industry, and now it's being applied into rocket ships because they have the same performance characteristics and thermal performance outputs. So they figured a new adjacent market. And of course, our work helped them. But the question is, how can we make this a ritualized process so that these CXOs can look through TAM expansion, not just in their industry, but potentially in all adjacent industry? What can we do for them? Sachin, maybe your thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure, Vinod. And I think taking off from what Krishnan said, I think when you look at TAM, the market aspect is the first thing to start thinking about. As a CEO, as a strategy head, when I'm looking at market, what's my definition of market in the first place? Today, I would have started as a car company and I can tomorrow become a mobility company because I can do many other things. So when we look at the target opportunity, you're looking at a much broader market by the definition of who you want to become. And we also see that it's about identifying where you want to go, how it actually plays to your strengths and your advantages, what you also want to do in terms of opportunity maximization, where you've already built certain capability and then you want to bring in new use cases. You also possibly want to look at how will you target that specific market. So it's not just about defining a market, but then addressing that. Now that's where the second very crucial dimension comes in, where you would have done a great job of identifying a new market, but how do you then start playing in that market? What would you do with that? So how will you start planning your go-to-market? Now, when you want to plan your go-to-market, there are some fundamental dimensions we have noticed which is very important. Like they say, execution has to meet the strategy. And you can do a great strategy, you can do a great job of your TAM expansion, but without the right execution, you're never going to meet the targets. Now, when it comes to GTM planning, unlike what many people think, it's not just about doing what you've already known for so many years, because you're addressing a new market, possibly requires a reshaping of your go-to-market team, requires a reshaping of your approach to market, but it also starts with first understanding the voice of your customer. Your customers should give you your best feedback in terms of what you can get. Secondly, it also gets into how you're actually going to take that opportunity and look at when you enter a new territory, a new geography, a new segment, should you do everything on your own or should you partner with somebody? Should you do everything in terms of a narrow space or look at possibly additional applications which you want to pick up? And how you'll actually plan the whole model out. It's very crucial. And what I have seen in the last couple of years is that companies are not just struggling with that, but in fact, they need a lot of help. And that's where I've seen with many of our customers, they walk into the door assuming that it's about the strategy and that's where there is the whole market opportunity and other things, but also how to then take it to the next level. And I was talking to Ashish a few days back, and he had a lot of stories to actually tell us. And Ashish, you can actually enlighten us more with what are some of the revenue impact stories we have in Markets and Markets.
Sure, I think this is, firstly, Vinod, I would like to say that this is perhaps the best time to think about growth, right? Yeah. Because while of course you may be hitting a hard place in the short term, one really needs to plan for the next wave of growth. And I'll share a couple of interesting client examples. So I remember when COVID hit, one of our clients, they're the world leader in the world of oil and gas. And oil and gas prices plummeted to $20 or even below that, right?
Negative.
And yes, they were negative at one point in time in terms of futures and so on. And our client had a huge concentration risk in the oil and gas sector. And the only thing they could think of at that time was how do we diversify beyond this? And how do we build additional revenue streams in adjacent markets where our products and solutions would be very relevant, right? And that was their moment of truth in terms of TAM expansion. And in a matter of a few weeks, we actually helped them. They were in a bunch of solutions like condition monitoring and remotely accessing plants and monitoring and controlling them, right? And we help them identify that, beyond just your oil and gas end-use industries, you can actually tap into chemical, you can actually tap into metals and mining, you can tap into paper and pulp. And frankly, that was their moment of truth in terms of TAM expansion. And then coming to the next piece around how do you make it real, right? So we identified, a revenue growth of opportunity for them, which was close to $500 million over the next 3 to 5 years, right? And it was significant for the business that they were operating in. And obviously the next step then was, how do we make it real? Because they did not know who to target in the chemical industry, right? Or who they should target in paper and pulp and metal and mining. And obviously the next step was to prioritize a bunch of customers, right? So, which customers are likely to have the greatest prospectivity in terms of the problems which their solutions would solve for. And then again, once we'd done that piece, the next step was to really understand the voice of customer, as Sachin you were mentioning. We basically help them understand what are the solutions that their customers in the new end-use industries were using today. How are those inferior to what our client was bringing to the table? And what specific pain points would get alleviated? And a sort of a pseudo ROI, what is the ROI that the customer would get through the solutions embraced by our client? And that was so powerful for them because, they had, all of a sudden, they had a line of sight to that 500 million potential that, they were all dreaming about, right? And obviously the next step was also a bunch of stuff around marketing collaterals, demand gen, and so on, which we can talk about. There's another very interesting thing that Krishnan, you mentioned. You mentioned about so many different mega trends which are shaping the world. And in my client conversations these days, the single biggest question which a head of strategy is asking is, I know that our business is getting hit from all directions by sustainability, electrification of everything, connectivity, and all the mega trends, right? And it's very hard for me to comprehend how these are impacting my customers and what does that mean for me in terms of opportunities and threats, right? And I think the beauty about our business, which clients really love, is almost that, with a few clicks on our platform Knowledge Store, they are easily able to comprehend, what does that mega trend mean for, if I'm a chemical company, for instance, right? What does sustainability in the world of automotive mean? And what opportunities does it really create for me? And if I'm a lubricant company in chemicals, what are the threats that I have, right? I mean, given the world is headed towards electrification and EVs, but what are the new EV fluids that I need to place bets on, right, as my new revenue streams? In fact, we had a very interesting engagement with a client. And this particular client said, pick these 3 trends: sustainability, electrification of everything, and connectivity. And please tell us what are the top 15 bets that we as a company, where should we be placing so that we can secure our future in terms of, the revenue growth that we would see from high growth markets. So I think it's possibly the best time to do this churn, so to say, and identify where we need to place bets.